Hey Vikings Nation, buckle up because we've got some serious roster movement to break down today. And trust me, this one might look small on the surface, but it could have a real impact on the Minnesota Vikings offense heading into 2026. One familiar face is staying, another is walking out the door, and the depth chart is starting to take shape in a way that raises some big questions. Right now, the headline is simple: Ty Chandler is gone. But what does that really mean for the Vikings? And more importantly, are we comfortable with what's left in that running back room? Stick with me because we're going deep into this, breaking down what happened, what it means, and why this could quietly become one of the biggest storylines of the Vikings offseason. The Minnesota Vikings made a clear decision early this offseason. They wanted stability at running back. Bringing back Aaron Jones on a revised deal was a strong signal that the team still believes in veteran leadership and proven production. But keeping Jones came at a cost. Not necessarily financially, but structurally. Because once that move was made, it became pretty obvious that someone else in that running back room would be the odd man out. And now we know exactly who that is. Ty Chandler is heading to New Orleans, closing the chapter on his time in Minnesota. The report dropped that Chandler signed a free agency deal with the Saints, and honestly, this didn't come completely out of nowhere. If you've been following the Minnesota Vikings closely, you could feel this coming. Chandler spent 4 seasons with the Vikings, and while he had flashes, he never fully locked down a consistent role. His best year came in 2023, when he showed real promise both on the ground and through the air. But in the NFL, flashes aren't enough. You need consistency, and unfortunately for Chandler, that just didn't materialize the way the team had hoped. Let's talk about that 2023 season for a second, because that was the peak of Chandler's time in purple. He racked up 461 rushing yards and added 3 touchdowns on the ground. On top of that, he contributed in the passing game with 21 receptions for 159 yards. That versatility is exactly what modern NFL offenses look for in a running back. For a moment, it felt like Chandler might be carving out a real role in the Vikings offense. Fans started to believe he could become a reliable piece moving forward. But then came the drop-off, and it was a big one. Last season, Chandler's production fell off dramatically. He managed just 47 rushing yards on 17 carries, averaging only 2.8 yards per attempt. That's not just a dip, that's a major red flag. In a league where efficiency is everything, those numbers made it incredibly difficult for the coaching staff to justify giving him more opportunities. And when you combine that with the emergence of other backs, the writing was pretty much on the wall. Now here's where things get interesting, Vikings fans. Because Chandler leaving isn't happening in isolation. The Minnesota Vikings have actually lost multiple offensive skill players this offseason. At wide receiver, Jalen Nailor is gone after signing a big deal with Las Vegas. At tight end, Ben Sims also moved on, landing with Miami. So now you're looking at a team that's lost pieces at 3 different skill positions. That's not nothing. That's a shift. But here's the twist. Minnesota has done a solid job of protecting its core. Despite those departures, the Vikings managed to keep their top contributors intact. Aaron Jones is back. The main receiving weapons are still in place. And the tight end situation remains stable thanks to a reworked deal for TJ Hawkinson. That move alone freed up cap space and ensured continuity at a key position. It's a classic front office maneuver: lose some depth, but keep the stars. And that's exactly what the Vikings have done here. Now let's zoom in on the running back room, because this is where things start to get a little concerning. With Chandler gone, the depth chart is looking thin. Right now, you've got Aaron Jones leading the group. Behind him, there's Jordan Mason and Xavier Scott. And that's it. 3 running backs on the roster. If you know anything about NFL roster construction, you know that's not enough, especially in the offseason. Typically, teams carry between 5 and 7 running backs during this period. It's about competition, insurance, and depth. Because injuries happen. And when they do, you need options. That's what makes this situation so intriguing. The Vikings are clearly confident in their top guys, but they're leaving themselves very little margin for error. And let's not forget, Aaron Jones isn't getting any younger. He's set to turn 32 during the season. That matters. Running back is one of the most physically demanding positions in football, and age catches up fast. So the big question becomes, can the Vikings really rely on this group as it stands? Looking back at last season gives us some clues. When Jones was dealing with a hamstring issue early on, Jordan Mason stepped up in a big way. He led the team with 758 rushing yards, showing that he can handle a significant workload when needed. Jones still contributed with 548 yards, proving he's still productive when healthy. And then there's Xavier Scott, who added depth with 114 rushing yards. So there is some internal confidence here. The Vikings have seen these guys perform. But losing Chandler still takes away a layer of depth that could have been valuable, especially when you consider how unpredictable a full NFL season can be. And here's something that really stands out. Chandler wasn't even heavily involved last season, yet his departure still raises concerns. He finished behind not just the main running backs, but even behind a wide receiver and a backup quarterback in rushing yards. That tells you everything you need to know about his role in 2025. He simply wasn't a key piece of the offense anymore, which makes this move logical from the team's perspective. But logical doesn't always mean risk-free. Let's talk about Chandler's overall time in Minnesota. He was drafted in the 5th round back in 2022, pick number 169 overall. Over his career with the Vikings, he totaled 710 rushing yards and 212 receiving yards. He scored 3 touchdowns and averaged 3.9 yards per carry. Not eye-popping numbers, but not terrible either. He was a solid rotational player, just not someone who forced the team to keep him. Now he heads to New Orleans, where things could get very interesting. The Saints already have a crowded running back room, including big names and new additions. So Chandler is walking into a competitive situation where he'll have to fight for touches. But sometimes, a fresh start is exactly what a player needs. Maybe we'll see a different version of him there. Back in Minnesota, the focus now shifts entirely to what comes next. Because make no mistake, the Vikings are not done at this position. They have to add depth. Whether it's through the draft, free agency, or even undrafted signings, more bodies are coming. They can't go into the season with just 3 running backs. That would be asking for trouble. And if you're a Vikings fan, you know this team is trying to compete, not rebuild. Every roster decision matters. So here's the big question I want to throw to you, Vikings Nation. Are you comfortable with the current running back room? Do you trust Aaron Jones to stay healthy and carry the load? Do you believe in Jordan Mason as a true RB1 if needed? Or do you think the Minnesota Vikings need to make a move? And fast? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is one of those topics where every opinion counts. And trust me, the front office is definitely thinking about it too. As always, we'll keep tracking every move, every rumor, and every update surrounding the Minnesota Vikings. Because this offseason is shaping up to be one of the most important in recent years. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other Vikings fans. Let's keep this community growing, and let's keep the conversation going. Skol, Vikings!